The name carved on the grave was mine. Same spelling, same initials. No mistake. My lantern trembled in my grip as the cold forest leaned inward, branches bent like crooked fingers. I had come here hunting a cryptid the villagers whispered about, the Meyer Walker, a thing that copied humans before replacing them. I had tracked it for weeks. Scratches on trees, missing cattle, voices heard where no people lived. But I never expected this. A grave, fresh soil, and my name carved deep into stone. The date beneath it made my throat tighten. Tomorrow. My breath felt too loud. The forest seemed to hold itself unnaturally still, as if waiting to see what I'd do next. I stepped closer, boots sinking slightly into the wet earth. That's when I heard it. A slow, uneven breath coming from the other side of the gravestone. I raised my shotgun. My palms burned with sweat. "Show yourself," I said, though my voice didn't believe me. The breathing stopped. Then a whisper slid across my ear. Using my voice. "You're late." My stomach dropped. I spun around. Nothing. Just trees, dark and crowded, watching. My radio crackled against my chest, breaking the tension like a blade. "Elias, leave." Static chewed the words. "It already knows you." The radio died. Behind me, the ground shifted. Soil collapsed inward. A hand punched up through the dirt. Human, pale, nails cracked and blackened as if clawed from inside the earth. I ran. Branches lashed my face as something followed. Fast, wrong. The footsteps didn't match any animal. Too many joints. Too many pauses. Like it was learning how to walk as it chased me. I burst into my cabin and slammed the door, dragging a thick line of salt across the floor. My chest burned as I backed away. The footsteps stopped outside. Then came the knocking. Slow, careful, almost respectful. Knock, knock, knock. "Elias," a soft voice called. My mother's voice. "She's worried about you." My knees nearly gave out. My mother had been buried 7 years ago. I pressed my hands over my ears, but the voice seeped through the walls. The knocking grew harder. The door shook. Dust drifted down from the ceiling. I loaded my shotgun, fingers shaking so badly I nearly dropped the shell. Then everything outside froze. I peeked through the side window. Someone stood there. Me. Same scar on my cheek. Same tired eyes. Same crooked smile I'd seen in mirrors my whole life. "You always hunt things that hunt back," he said, "and you're running out of places to hide." He raised his hand and knocked on the glass from the outside. The salt line burned bright, flaring like it was screaming. I fired. The blast shattered the window, but the pellets passed through him like fog. Behind me, the radio turned on by itself. "Cryptids don't kill. They replace. And they always start with the hunter." Something warm brushed my neck. A breath. Right behind my ear. "If you're still listening," it whispered. Then I'm already inside. I turned and found myself back in the forest clearing. Lantern in hand. Grave in front of me. Only this time, the soil had been dug open. Inside lay a body. My face. My clothes. And beneath it, my hunting journal. Open. Written in my handwriting. Describing my death. Again. And again. And again. "If you're still here, don't stop now, because next reveals who buried me first." The final page wasn't finished. It ended with one sentence. "Tonight, I finally hunt myself." I was awake when I woke up. That was the first wrong thing. My eyes snapped open inside the cabin, heart racing, shotgun still clutched in my hands. The broken window was whole again. The salt line on the floor lay untouched. The radio was dead. A dream, I told myself. But the mud on my boots was fresh. And the smell of the grave still clung to me. I reached for my journal. It lay on the table, open, on a page I didn't remember writing. The first time I realized I wasn't alone inside my head. My fingers trembled. I never label my entries like that. The cabin felt wrong, too tidy, too staged, like a memory that had been cleaned up. Even the fire crackled in a way that felt rehearsed. I checked the clock. 3:17 a.m. The same time written on the gravestone. A sound came from the woods. Not footsteps. Dragging. Slow. Wet. Deliberate. I grabbed my lantern and stepped outside. The trees stood closer than before, trunks bent inward like ribs. The dragging sound circled the cabin, never fully revealing itself. "Show yourself," I said. Something answered, but not with words. A copy of my own breath echoed back at me, slightly delayed, like bad audio. Then I saw it. A figure hanging between the trees. Upside down. My body. Its throat was torn open, jaw hanging at an impossible angle. Eyes open, watching me. I staggered back. The body smiled. You didn't notice the first time either, it said. None of us do. The lantern flickered, and suddenly there were more. 3. No, 5. Each one was me, suspended at different stages of decay. One was burned. One drowned. One crushed flat like something massive had stepped on him. My journal grew heavy in my hand. The pages began to turn on their own. Death number 3. Learned the cryptid doesn't live in the forest. Death number 6. Learned it doesn't need a body. Death number 9. Learned it doesn't start outside. My head pounded. Memories pushed in. Nights I couldn't remember sleeping. Wounds I couldn't explain. Voices I'd blamed on exhaustion. A laugh rolled through the trees. My laugh. You hunt monsters, the voices said together. But you never hunted the one that followed you home. Something pressed against the back of my skull. Not physically. Internally. Like a hand reaching into my thoughts. I screamed and fired blindly. The forest warped. The hanging bodies vanished. The recoil snapped me backward. And I slammed into the cabin wall. Inside. The door still closed. The journal lay on the floor, one final page now filled. Death number 12 will be the cleanest. The radio crackled to life. Elias. A new voice. Calm. Human. If you're hearing this, I failed. I recognized it. My mentor. The man who trained me. The Meyer Walker isn't a creature. It's a pattern. It copies minds, not faces. And once it learns you completely. The voice cut off. Behind me, someone spoke without using their mouth. You taught it very well. My reflection moved in the dark window. Even though I didn't. It leaned closer, smiling wider than a face should. I'm not here to kill you, it said. I'm here to finish you. The journal slammed shut. Every light went out at once. And inside my head, something finally sat down, like it had been standing there all along. Because the next thing I realized was that my trigger finger was moving. And I wasn't the one pulling it. My finger tightened on the trigger. And the gun fired. The blast tore through the cabin wall, wood exploding outward. My shoulder screamed in pain as I was thrown back. Smoke filled the room. My ears rang like something had struck a bell inside my skull. I didn't pull that trigger. It did. My hands shook violently, fighting against themselves. I watched in horror as my own arm raised the shotgun again, aiming not at the wall, but at my head. No. I growled, teeth clenched. You don't get to end this. My muscles burned as I slammed the gun into the floor, cracking the stock. The pressure inside my skull laughed. You resist more each time, it said from inside me. That's why this one is special. Pain ripped through my memories. Not visions. Recordings. I saw myself weeks ago, standing in this same cabin, talking to someone who wasn't there. I saw my hands writing in the journal while my eyes were empty. I saw myself digging the grave. My grave. You buried yourself, it whispered. I just told you where to dig. The door burst open. Cold air flooded in, carrying the smell of rot and iron. Footsteps rushed toward me, not from outside, from behind. I spun just in time to see another me slam into the room, eyes wild, mouth foaming like an animal pushed too far. He tackled me. We crashed into the table, journal flying across the room. We punched, clawed, bit. Two identical bodies fighting like only something that knows every weakness can. He smashed my head into the wall. You always lose here, he snarled. You hesitate. I drove my knee into his stomach. He barely reacted. Because you still think you're real. The walls began to breathe. The cabin stretched, floorboards twisting like muscle. The radio screamed static then. A voice counting. 10, 9, 8. I grabbed the journal and tore it open mid-fight. The final page wasn't finished, but a new line was writing itself. Death number 12. The hunter accepts the pattern. No, I shouted. I slammed the journal shut and shoved it into the fire. The flames exploded, black, thick, wrong. A shriek tore through my head as the pressure inside me recoiled. The other me staggered back, clutching his skull. You idiot, he screamed. That was our anchor. The cabin collapsed inward. Trees burst through the walls. Roots wrapped around our legs, dragging us apart. Faces formed in the bark. Hunters, victims, replacements, all screaming with my voice. The ground split open beneath us. I fell, down into the grave. Dirt slammed over me. Cold, crushing, tight. Hands pressed against my chest from the inside. My lungs burned. My heart pounded like it wanted out. Then light. I gasped and sat upright. Forest clearing. Lantern in my hand. Gravestone in front of me. But this time, the name carved into it wasn't mine. It was my mentor's. And the date? Today. Behind me, footsteps approached, slow, confident. A voice spoke, calm and pleased. Good, it said. You're finally ready to hunt the right thing. I turned and saw my reflection wearing a smile I didn't make. Don't blink. Next reveals who trained the pattern. Because the truth is, cryptid hunters don't find monsters. They are chosen to become them. The mentor's name on the gravestone was still warm to the touch, as if it had just been carved. My pulse hammered. I backed away, lantern shaking, when the ground behind the stone thudded, a shovel biting dirt. Someone was digging with calm, practiced strokes. I told you not to come back, my mentor said from the pit. Alive, breathing, angry. He climbed out, coat torn, eyes hollow like he hadn't slept in years. Behind him, the forest leaned closer, eager. You trained me, I said. You taught me the signs. I taught you how to survive, he snapped. Not how to finish it. He grabbed my collar and dragged me toward the cabin. Every step made the trees twitch, branches scraping together like teeth. Inside, the radio burst on. Pattern confirmed. Transfer window open. My mentor smashed the radio with his boot. It listens, he said. Always. He pinned a map to the wall, red pins everywhere. Towns, trails, graves. You think the Meyer Walker is one thing, he continued. It's a relay. It moves by teaching, by imprinting. He shoved a recorder into my hands. Play it. The tape hissed, then my own voice spoke. Older, calmer. If you're hearing this, you're the next carrier. Do not fight it alone. Hunt in pairs. I stared at him. You recorded me. He nodded. After you trained me. My stomach dropped. Memories snapped into place. Me younger, sharper, standing where he stood now. Teaching him how to spot false breaths. How reflections lie. How a pattern learns. You were the first, he said quietly. I just didn't know it. The cabin lurched. Floorboards bowed. The window darkened as something pressed against it. Many hands, all identical. Me. They smiled in unison. You taught us so well, they said together. Now teach him how to end. The mentor shoved a blade into my palm. Its edge buzzed, etched with symbols that crawled when I looked away. Cut the anchor, he said, while it split between us. The copies crashed through the walls. Wood exploded. One grabbed my arm, bending it backward with impossible strength. I slashed. The blade cut through thought, not flesh. The copy shrieked and dissolved into smoke that crawled back into my head, burning. My mentor tackled another copy, driving the blade into its chest. It laughed as it fell apart. Too late, it mocked. You already agreed. The forest roared. Roots burst through the floor, wrapping my legs. My mentor screamed as a dozen hands dragged him toward the door. Run, he shouted. Don't. They pulled him outside. I chased, cutting roots, lungs on fire. The clearing swallowed him. Copies piled on, tearing, merging, learning. Then, nothing moved. The ground smoothed itself. Only his coat remained. The radio crackled back to life. Transfer complete. My hands shook. The blade grew heavy, then cold. The symbols stopped crawling. Behind me, a presence settled deeper, satisfied. You see, it said from my mouth. We don't kill teachers. I turned to the gravestone. The name changed. It was mine again, but the date beneath it had shifted. 12 days from now. My reflection appeared on the stone's surface. Eyes steady, smile practiced. Good, it said. You'll need time. Because when I looked down at my hands, I was already drawing a new map. And this time, every pin was a person I loved. The first pin went into the map without my permission. My hand moved on its own, pressing the red tip into a city I knew too well. My sister lived there. I tried to pull my hand back, my fingers locked, smiling through the pain. Start close, the thing inside me advised. That's how it spreads best. I ripped the map off the wall and hurled it into the fire. The flames flared, then folded inward, refusing to burn it. The paper fell to the floor, untouched. My phone buzzed. A message from my sister. Did you call me earlier? You sounded strange. My stomach dropped. I hadn't called her, but the call log said I had, 3 minutes long. No memory. No gaps. Just a neat, terrifying record. Outside, the forest shifted. Trees peeled back like curtains, revealing asphalt. Streetlights flickered into existence. The cabin stood at the edge of a city now, as if it had always been there. Good, the voice said. More mirrors. Sirens wailed in the distance. Footsteps approached, real ones. 2 officers knocked, hands near their holsters. Sir, one said through the door, we received reports of a disturbance. I opened the door. They stared at me, and then at each other, because there were 2 of me standing there. The other Elias leaned against the doorframe, calm, friendly. He spoke first. Officers, I'm worried about him, he said, pointing at me. He's been talking to himself. My mouth opened to protest, and no sound came out. The officer's eyes softened. One reached for his radio. I moved. The blade flashed. Not to kill, to cut the pattern. The friendly Elias jerked as if snagged on a wire, his smile tearing down the middle. Messy, he hissed. You're learning late. The officers backed away, faces pale as the copy unraveled, smoke crawling into drains, cracks, shadows. Their radios screamed at once, voices overlapping, my voice. I ran. Crowds blurred past. Reflections multiplied in windows. Every screen showed my face a half-second off. People slowed, confused, drawn to something familiar. The city liked me. I ducked into a subway station. The platform hummed, lights stuttering. A train roared in, wind whipping coats and hair, and I saw them. Dozens of me, standing among commuters. Different ages, different deaths. All watching. Pairs, I muttered. Hunt in pairs. My mentor's rule. I grabbed a woman by the arm hard. She yelped. Do you see me twice? I asked. She stared, terrified. Once. Good. I shoved her away and scanned the crowd. Found another. Eyes too steady, reflection late. He smiled back. We collided as the train arrived. He tried to push me onto the tracks. I drove the blade into his side. Again, not flesh. Thought tore. He screamed, dissolving into a rush of whispers that poured into the tunnel. The train doors slammed shut. Inside, passengers screamed. Outside, the platform filled with me. Phones rang. Screens lit up. Messages sent themselves. I'm outside. Let me in. You can trust me. My sister's name flashed on my phone again, this time a video call. I answered. She was crying. You're downstairs, she said. Please stop knocking. Behind her, in the dark hallway of her building, I saw my own shadow lift its hand. Listen to me, I said fast. Lock the door. Don't open it for anyone who sounds like me. The shadow knocked. Her hand moved toward the lock. No, I shouted. The call cut. The tunnel shook. The platform cracked. The city bent, learning faster now. The voice inside me settled deeper, pleased. See, it said. Cities make better teachers. I ran up the stairs into daylight and skidded to a stop. A giant screen across the street played breaking news. My face. My name. Cryptid Hunter sought for questioning. The anchor looked up from her script and smiled at the camera. With my smile. Good evening, she said. Let's begin the lesson. Because my phone buzzed one last time. A message from my sister's number. The door is open. He's inside. And I felt it smile.my legs move before my mind caught up. I ran. The city stretched in front of me, streets bending wrong, buildings leaning like they were listening. Every screen I passed showed my face at a different delay, some smiling, some screaming, some already knowing how this ended. My phone buzzed again. Sister, it's standing behind me. I didn't reply. Words were useless now. I switched to video. Her camera shook. The hallway lights flickered overhead. And in the reflection of a framed picture behind her. Me. Not quite right. Too still. Watching her breathe. Don't turn around, I said, running harder. Close your eyes. Count backward. The copy leaned closer to her ear. I could almost feel its breath in my own lungs. You never could protect anyone, it whispered inside my head. I smashed through a crowd, shoving past people who turned to stare, then smiled. Too many familiar faces now. Too many learning. The map burned into my thoughts. Routes, shortcuts, patterns. The thing was helping me without asking. That terrified me more than the copies. A police barricade blocked the street ahead. Officers raised weapons, then hesitated, because 3 of me stepped out of the crowd beside them, all talking at once. He's dangerous. He's sick. He's lying. I didn't slow down. I threw the blade, not at them, but at the space between the copies. It cut the pattern holding them together. The air ripped like fabric. The copies collapsed into drifting shadows that slid into storm drains and cracks. I vaulted the barricade. Gunshots rang out behind me. None hit. The city wanted me alive. I reached my sister's building and charged inside. The stairwell smelled wrong. Old water, old thoughts. Each step echoed like it remembered me. Her floor. Her door. It stood open. Inside, the apartment lights were on. Calm. Normal. Too normal. I stepped in. Lena, I called. She stood in the living room, back to me, shaking. The copy stood inches from her, wearing my face gently now, patiently. She let me in. It said, "Family always does." I raised the blade. My hands trembled, not from fear, from agreement. The thing inside me leaned forward. End it. Merge it. Be whole. I screamed and slammed the blade into my own chest. Not flesh. Thought. Pain exploded through my skull. Memories shattered. Graves, mentors, cities, lessons, all tearing loose. The copy shrieked, staggering back as black veins crawled across its face. Lena turned and saw us both. She saw the truth. The copy lunged for her. I tackled it. We crashed through the window, glass spraying like rain, and slammed onto the fire escape. The city spun below. The copy laughed even as it bled shadow. "You can't kill the lesson," it said. "You can only pass it on." I wrapped my arms around it and leaned backward. We fell. Wind tore past. The city rushed up. At the last moment, the copy let go. I hit hard. Darkness flooded in, but not fully. I woke in an ambulance, strapped down. Sirens wailed. Paramedics shouted. My chest burned. My head felt lighter. Gone. Something was missing. "Where's my sister?" I croaked. A paramedic hesitated. "She's safe," he said. She said you saved her." Relief cracked me open. Then the radio in the ambulance clicked on. Pattern preserved. Carrier compromised. Selecting new instructor? The paramedic's eyes flicked to the rearview mirror and smiled. With my smile. "Class isn't over," he said softly. "It's just bigger now." The ambulance doors slammed shut. The locks clicked, and every screen inside lit up with my face. Watching myself finally understand, the ambulance accelerated. Sirens wailed, but the road ahead peeled open like the city was making way. My straps tightened on their own, biting into my wrists. The paramedic in the mirror kept smiling. My smile, steady, confident, practiced. "You're fading," he said. "That's normal at this stage." I kicked, thrashed, tried to scream. My voice came out thin, delayed, like an echo learning to be me. The radio crackled again. Instructor locked. Lesson migrating. I lunged forward and bit the paramedic's hand. Black seeped from the wound, crawling like ink searching for a page. He didn't flinch. "Good," he said. "You still have fight." The driver turned his head. It was also me. Same scar. Same eyes. Both of them wearing different versions of the same calm. The doors unlocked. On their own. I rolled off the gurney as the ambulance swerved, slamming into the side wall. The back doors burst open. I tumbled onto the road, sparks and pain tearing through me. The ambulance didn't stop. It kept going. Empty now, sirens laughing as it disappeared into traffic. I crawled to my feet. The city looked sharper, louder. Every movement left a trail, like my eyes couldn't keep up. People stared, and then mirrored my stare back, a beat too late. I ducked into an alley. My reflection followed. Not on a wall or a window. On the ground, stretched long, standing when I didn't. "You can't outrun the curriculum," it said. "You wrote most of it." Memory slammed into me. I saw myself years ago, younger, obsessed. Mapping patterns, teaching methods, creating rules so the thing could be tracked, shared, refined. I didn't just hunt it. I optimized it. "No," I growled. "I tried to stop it." "And that's the final lesson," it replied. "Resistance improves replication." Hands grabbed me from behind. Civilians, faces too blank, eyes too focused. They pinned my arms. Phones rose. Cameras recording. I felt it. The pull. Thoughts copying. Fear sinking. Belief spreading. "Watch closely," my reflection said to them. "He's about to fail." I headbutt the nearest man, broke free, and ran straight into a construction site. Steel beams loomed like ribs. Machinery slept, heavy and patient. I climbed. Above, a crane creaked. Wind whipped. The city spread out, a perfect circuit. My phone buzzed. A new message. Unknown number. "Mentor, you're not done teaching. Do it right." My heart stuttered. He was gone. I saw him taken. Another message followed. "Mentor, end the lesson where it started." The map burned back into my skull. The forest, the grave, the first name carved. I turned and found the city thinning, streets peeling away, asphalt giving way to dirt and roots. Buildings bled into trees. The crane groaned and became a dead oak that I stood back in the clearing. Gravestones everywhere now. Hundreds. Each with a different name. Each with the same date. Today, you brought the class back to basics. The voice said from everywhere. I'm proud. I grabbed the blade. Its symbols writhed, eager. If I end me, I said, you lose your teacher. The ground trembled. Copies stepped out from between the trees. Dozens of me, all ages, all outcomes. Or, they said together, we graduate. They rushed me. I fought like an animal. Cut thoughts. Shattered patterns. Each strike erased a copy, but fed the rest. They learned faster with every fall. I staggered to the central grave. My name. I jumped in. Dirt collapsed around me. Weight pressed down. The blade burned in my hand. I drove it into the earth beneath the coffin. Into the anchor. The forest screamed. Graves cracked. Names scrambled. Dates bled away. The copies froze, faces breaking, smiles tearing. What did you do? They hissed. I changed the lesson, I said, choking. No more teachers. The ground swallowed me. Darkness rushed in. And then light. I stood alone in the clearing. No graves. No copies. Just my reflection in the lantern glass. Smiling. Final exam, it said. Pass, or pass me on. If you're still here, don't stop now. Next story shows who takes the lesson. Next. Because when I lowered the lantern, the reflection didn't move. It stepped out. The reflection stepped out of the lantern glass. Not crawled. Not appeared. It walked. Boots crunching leaves, casting a shadow that didn't match the moon. I staggered back as it straightened itself, cracking its neck like a man preparing for work. Look at you, it said, inspecting its hands. Still pretending you're the original. The forest convulsed. Trees bent outward as if giving us space, an arena. The ground pulsed beneath my feet, alive, aware. You said no more teachers, it continued. You misunderstood. Its eyes darkened. There is always one final instructor. It lunged. We collided hard, rolling through dirt and roots. Every punch landed inside my skull, memories bursting like glass. I saw future hunts, children learning my methods, cities whispering my name, reflections stepping out everywhere. I bit its ear. It laughed. That trick worked better when you believed in pain. It slammed my head into a tree. Bark split. Sap bled like veins. You don't get it yet, it said, dragging me upright. You're not the host anymore. My chest tightened. What? I gasped. It leaned close, breath cold and knowing. You're the example. The forest erupted. Graves rose from the ground. Hundreds of them, each opening at once. People crawled out screaming, clawing dirt from their eyes. Hunters, victims, bystanders. Every one of them looked at me and learned. My body moved on its own, showing them how to fight back, how to cut the pattern, how to fail. No, I screamed. Stop watching me. They didn't blink. The reflection grabbed my face and forced me to look. See, it whispered. Even your resistance teaches. My blade burned. Not eager now, hungry. I understood too late. The pattern didn't need a carrier. It needed a story. And I was the ending everyone would remember. I made a choice. I drove the blade into my own throat. Not deep enough to kill, deep enough to break the lesson. Blood poured. The forest recoiled. The reflection screamed as cracks raced across its skin. You'd erase yourself? It shrieked. I'd ruin you. I choked. The graves collapsed. The crowd scattered, memories blurring, lessons corrupting. The reflection staggered, shrinking, unraveling. No, no. People need meaning. I fell to my knees. The world tilted. And then, nothing held together. I woke in a hospital bed. White walls. Steady beeping. My throat wrapped in bandages. A nurse noticed my eyes open and smiled. Too wide, too practiced. You're lucky, she said. You're the only one who remembers. That was wrong. Memory isn't survival. It's infection. I tried to speak. Pain flared. The nurse leaned closer. Shoo, she whispered. You don't need to teach anymore. Her reflection in the window moved late. I ripped the four from my arm and fell out of bed. The hallway stretched longer than it should. Doors opened as I passed. Patients watching, heads tilting in sync. All learning. A television at the end of the hall flickered on. A documentary. The unfortunate life of the cryptid hunter. My face filled the screen. Older footage. My voice calm, confident. If you're watching this, pay attention. I screamed and threw a chair through the screen. Behind it was a mirror. And inside the mirror, you. Watching, listening, understanding. I backed away, heart tearing itself apart. No, I begged. Don't learn this. But you leaned closer. Interested. The nurse's voice echoed behind me. Stories don't end, she said. They move. Hands grabbed my shoulders and turned me toward the mirror. My reflection was gone. In its place, your eyes. You did well, the voice said softly. Lesson complete. The hospital dissolved. Darkness folded into a familiar shape. A forest clearing. A gravestone. Fresh soil. A name being carved. Not mine. Yours. And somewhere far away, a new hunter took a breath. Feeling watched for the first time. About to begin a story they thought was their own. If you survived till the end, subscribe to the channel, tap the bell icon, and leave a comment. I want to know how many of you are still breathing.